Hey, what's up you guys? Josh here with the Kaioken channel, and today I'm going to be getting started on converting the Traxxas Bandit into a low center of gravity chassis and custom body and all the stuff needed to get this thing ready for even faster speed run. So I've got everything needed here, either already here today or it'll show up today. The only thing I'm still waiting on is the motor and the ESC that's going to go into, well, the Bandit, not that body but this body over here. So you guys can see I've got the low center of gravity chassis, got some bearings, some screws that are going to be needed that's actually not included in here. Got body mount posts and then a straight and curved pair of scissors. The body is supposed to be coming in today. I went ahead and bought the paint. It's going to be just all blue, and that's because these hexes are blue. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and make the car blue, and this low center of gravity chassis is blue as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This video is going to be cut into a couple segments as things arrive. And then, of course, I'll be waiting a couple more days for the motor and ESC. So let me get the camera set up, and I'll take you guys along for the ride of what it looks like to convert a Bandit to one of these. All right, let's get started. All right, so naturally, we're going to go ahead and take the wheels off. All right, there's the other wheel. Take this body off. We're actually not going to be needing the body or the wing or the front spoiler, so all of that's going to be coming off. Next, let's go ahead and take this rear wheelie bar mount off. Alright. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do now actually is move the camera so that it's more at a top-down view so you guys can see more of what I'm doing. Alright, that way you guys can see everything a little bit better. So, got the wheelie bar off, and these screws, we'll just set these over here. Let's get all this other GoPro stuff out of the way. That was just to help me get the phone mounted. Alright, this body and these pins we're not going to need, so we'll set these over here. My two drills. Alright, so we'll leave that on, that can stay there. Alright, obviously I'm walking through this for the first time with you guys. Alright, got that off. So let's see what we're working with as far as the new chassis. 5830. Let's see what all comes in here. Alright, got some foam blocks and some screws and pins. This looks like this is going to be for the servo, maybe. Got some bumpers, battery tie down, some springs. Looks like they're progressive. I don't know if we'll use those or not. And not exactly sure what that's for, but for now we'll keep the springs and these bumpers here in there, and these some various screws and stuff. So set that there, this, and this. So it looks like we're going to need the front and rear bulkhead off of the Bandit. That'll convert over. Servo will hook up there. All right, we will just step through this with you guys. We'll do this together. Like I mentioned, I also have these additional screws that apparently we need to do this, bearings, and we'll do the body posts So let's move this aside for now. We are going to start, let's see, let's start in the front. We'll go ahead and get the front 3 screws off. This guy. Alright. Let's get this cover off. Move those there. That's for the front. Alright, let's get the servo removed. Alright, looks like the ESC goes in channel 2 and the servo goes into channel 1. Alright, let's get that removed. Alright, and that's for the ESC. Also got our antenna wire. Try to keep this together. Okay. And let's go ahead and just remove the rest of this housing. Dropping screws. That. So now this whole front assembly has been removed. We're not going to need this either. So looks like the servo's held on here, and then that steering is held on here. Alright, so now there's that, and we'll put these screws back in here. We won't need it anymore. Alright, set that aside. So now the whole front with the servo and the steering assembly all is off. So we got a washer here that may go underneath. Yeah, so there's 2 washers underneath this steering assembly, so be sure not to lose that. I'll try to keep all of that together. Okay. I'm not doing a very good job of keeping it together, but we'll do our best here. Okay, there's that. 3 screws for front, and that the servo. Okay, so I think before we get too far, taken apart from this, we are going to put the front assembly onto this chassis. All right, so quick note of the orientation of the servo. You can see this wheel part goes on the side where there's a little cutout there. It's easiest if you remove the servo arm, and then you're not going to reuse the screws that came off of the Bandit. You're going to be using these little screws that came out of this pack, okay? Also, you're going to want to tighten this down, but keep it still loose enough where all of this moves freely. Okay, so just a couple things to keep in mind. All right, so now both of those are on and this moves freely. I can then go ahead and screw this servo arm into here. All right, so next we're actually going to go ahead and mount the body posts to the front while it's still disconnected, because it is a little bit easier to install that before putting it on the rest of the chassis. Also, this mount is going to be mounted upside down, because that allows for a little more clearance and a little bit more adjustability with getting the body a little bit closer to the chassis. So let's go ahead and open this up and take care of that. All right, so front clip, we're gonna take this piece off here, and then of course we got our body mounts. These two are for the rear. Let's go ahead and take this off. Of course, once you get your body on and kind of estimated where it's going to be, you'll be able to cut these down to the proper size. So let's just get these removed from here. Got this piece and this one. Okay, so we're going to use, like I said, this and these two front ones. And of course they include some hardware as well. So let's get this opened up. Let's get this out of the way. We don't need that. We'll use this in a second. Okay. Just get all this taken out and grab what we need. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screw caps, 4 washers. We've got these little grub screws that are going to go inside of these posts, and then these rings are going to go on either side, just like that. Couple butt head screws. Okay, just getting everything organized here. Let's go ahead and get these screwed on here. This might actually be potentially too long. Yeah, so if that's going all the way through like that, we're going to be hitting the screw on the other side of that shock mount. All right, so what I'm doing here is just checking the length of this screw and this one. And it looks like if we were to just screw that in, they would end up hitting each other, which is what it was doing when I first started to screw that in. So I'm not gonna be able to use that one, and it looks like all 6 of these are the same length. So I'm gonna get into my cabinet here and let's see if these are the same width here. Yes, they are. So I'm gonna get 2 smaller ones for this side. All right, so that's not long enough. So this will go through here. And see, that would only bite a little bit. I want a little longer than that. And these, that'll go through and bite a good amount, so that's good. Let me check the other side. So if we had this mount, this screw, bear with me you guys. This screw through here and then into there. Looks like that'll be just enough clearance. Perfect. So these are M3 by 12. So if you needed, you know, to get yourself a kit like this, so you can mount it without those screws hitting, and that's what you need. M3 by 12 through the shock and then through the back into there. All right, you guys. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and just mount up these posts so that they're in place. So then we're also going to take our grub screws. We're going to do this by hand and screw these into here just till it bottoms out, and then these little O-rings go around the outside. All right, so now at this point we're going to flip this over and get these 3 screws here that we took off the original bulkhead and get that screwed back in. All right, So now we can go ahead and get this installed onto here. It looks like we've got, let me see. This is the front. All right, so this goes all the way through, it looks like. I have to push that through there, and then that lines up with that. Perfect. All right, however, looks like I need to first feed the wire for the servo through here. All right, so yes, we needed 2 of these screws from this pack just to screw on the front here. Looks like they include the 3 for the rear, just not these 2 for the front. So should have 1, 2, 3. Nice. 3 button heads. I'll put these back here. So now the front is done. That's converted over. So now we're going to focus on getting the rear disconnected. So let me grab my snips. Let's move this over. I'm just going to cut the zip tie off here. Okay. And I'm going to unplug the motor. Now I don't need the motor or ESC because I'm going to be upgrading that. Okay. Let's remove, let's get this wing off. Looks like we've got 4 screws on the outside of this body post, or shock post rather. Get these out of here. Okay. All right, so it looks like the wheelie bar mount might be trying to keep it on there. All right, well there's that. So this goes here, this goes through there, and this goes on that side. So there's that. We'll put this over by the wheelie bar. I see what's going on. So these A-arms here are just inside of where this body meets, and that is actually what is keeping this in there. So if there we go. So I just rotated the back end up like this, and now I can pull this whole thing away. So I needed to remove the front 2 screws for the shock mount, but not the back 2. So we'll put the back 2 back on here. All right, let's bring in this chassis, and it should be as easy as just dropping this into place. Let's get the this mount put on. All right, just to hold that in place, we'll push that down and get these inserted. Perfect. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome.